All right, our guest tonight has traveled the world over as a professional wrestler. He has been a mainstay in companies like New Japan Pro Wrestling, WCW, and WWE. He is currently working a new project that will chronicle his career in wrestling as well as football. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Patriot Del Wilkes.
Thanks for having me. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, Del. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah. So we mentioned you're in the process of creating a DVD. What can you tell us about this project?
Well, I was approached last year by my uncle Elliot with Elbow Productions about the possibilities of getting together and working together and putting together a DVD, or actually it's going to be two DVDs, not only on my wrestling career, but my life. It's just an all-encompassing project where it starts out from day one, from birth. We include members of my family. It takes us all the way through high school, my college days at the University of South Carolina, played football there, how I broke into the wrestling business, my wrestling career, some of the difficult things I went through after I retired from wrestling, and right up to present day. So it encapsulates my entire life. We started working on it several months back, and we're coming down the home stretch now. Sometime late summer, early fall, we'll be able to release this, and everyone else can enjoy it and look at it. We've got a lot of great people that are in it as well that we've talked with for the project. A lot of the guys that I wrestled with throughout my career, just to name a few. Buck Bagwell, Marcus Bagwell, Stan Hansen, Greg Gagne, Bobby Fulton, Jackie Fulton. We've got several of my former teammates at the University of South Carolina that are a part of this project that you'll see when you watch it, including the 1980 Heisman Trophy winner, John Rogers. So just a lot there, and I think everyone that gets it will certainly enjoy it. We put a lot of hard work and effort into it, and we're all excited about it.
That's great. Now, has this process been pretty therapeutic to you, like reliving some of your biggest moments?
Yeah, it has. It's always good to take walks down memory lane, and I'm very fortunate. I've had a very good life, and I've been able to do a lot of things and have created a lot of special memories, meet a lot of special people. So it's always good to rehash those things and to rehash a lot of good times with a lot of good folks. And also, too, we've relived in this DVD or in this project, we've relived some of the tough times that I went through as well. But also, I was able to learn from that as well. And hopefully, that as well can be used to inspire someone or to possibly help someone. So whether it's good times or bad times, I think there's always positive things that you can take out of that and hopefully can be passed on to other people.
All right. Speaking of biggest moments, what do you consider to be your greatest achievement in the world of professional wrestling?
Well, I don't know. It's pretty to single one out. I think there are a list of several. Early in my career, when I was working in the AWA as the trooper, just a relative unknown. We were living in Jamestown, North Dakota one night, and Greg Gagne came to me when I got to the building that night and told me I was working with Harley Race and that Harley was going to put me over. So early in my career, that was the biggest night and the biggest moment for me. But later on down the road, to have the kind of success that I had in the Global Wrestling Federation was also another great moment, another highlight. To then end up in All Japan Pro Wrestling, winning the All Asian Tag Team belts with my partner Jackie Fulton was another tremendous highlight. WCW after that with Bagwell, being two-time tag team champions was another tremendous highlight. And then, of course, my feud with Bret Hart in the WWF and beating Bret on Monday night in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania was another great highlight. Hard to pick up which one of those would be my most favorite, but I'm very fortunate that I've got a long list of highlights that I can choose from.
When you started to train to become a professional wrestler, you were trained in part by the fabulous Moolah. What are some of your favorite memories of her?
Well, just the character that she was. She had that gruff exterior, but she did have a goodness about her and kindness about her, a willingness to help young, up-and-coming professional wrestlers. Now, her school was more geared toward girls. There'd been a lot of girls that had been through that school. I by far had the most success of any of the guys that went through there. But I got to be honest, it taught me the very, very, very basics. I didn't learn an awful lot out of that school other than how to lock up, maybe grab a headlock, how to take a bump. The rest of it I sort of learned on the fly. So I guess it was instrumental in teaching me just the very, very basics, but there was very little cultivating a personality or learning how to do a promo or things like that at the school. That just had to come later, and literally learn that on the fly and just do it by the seat of my pants as I gained experience in the business.
All right, now early on in your career, like you said, you were called the Trooper. You achieved some success with this character, but what made you decide to ditch the Trooper and don the mask that we all know you by today?
Well, it was a decision that really was sort of not made for me, but someone approached me with the opportunity. I was working for the AWA, and they, for I guess lack of a better term, went belly up and just folded. And DJ Peterson and I were the last tag team champions in the AWA. And I was approached by Bill Eady about going out to Dallas for the very first TV taping for the Global Wrestling Federation, the GWF. So they sent me a plane ticket, and I loaded up my trooper gear and flew out to Dallas. And literally just a few hours before the very first TV taping that the GWF would ever do, I was summoned to Bill by Joe Pedicino to come over to his hotel room. We were all staying at the same hotel. And in the room sat Bill Eady, of Axe fame, of Demolition, and Bonnie Blackstone. And the three of them said, look, we got an idea we want to present to you and see what you think. And they were the ones that approached me about doing the Patriot character. And I took the opportunity, and that night there in the Sportatorium in Dallas was the very first time that a national TV audience would ever be exposed to that character. And I knew that night when I walked from behind that curtain and walked down the aisle and got into the ring that we had a good chance of having something special. We were just by the response from the crowd that night in Dallas. And it worked out, and it paid off to be a very good news. So I'm appreciative to Bill and Joe and Bonnie for presenting that opportunity to me.
Awesome. Now, we're going to fast forward and go back and forth a lot through your career while we're talking, but you were a part of WCW, you were part of the AWA, you were part of the WWF. Now, at that time, there was a lot of talent that were, jumping ship, going back and forth to wherever the money was and stuff, but there were really three big players at that time: WCW, WWF, and the little upstart company ECW. Were you ever approached by ECW to come in?
No, I was never approached, and had I been approached, I doubt very seriously I would have gone. I was very fortunate that I had the opportunity to work for, at the time that I was in the business, basically every major company that was in existence throughout my career. It seems like at one point or time in my career I did work for them, but was never approached about going to work for ECW.
All right. Can you walk us through how you became a part of the WWF roster? How you came in?
Well, I had literally throughout the course of my career had been in contact with the WWF and those behind the scenes about as far back as the early 90s. I met with Vince and Pat and those guys about coming to work there, but the timing just never worked out. But near the end of my career, I sat down with Vince again, JR, and had an opportunity. I was ready to get out of Japan. I was ready to come back to the States and work. And the physical style of work in all Japan was starting to take a toll on my body. I had sustained a couple of very serious injuries, and I just knew that my body could not continue working that style. So I was ready to get back home. And so when the opportunity presented itself, I was more than happy to take that and leave Japan and come back to the States and go to work for Vince in the WWF.
Now, when you were brought into the WWF, were you always going to be brought in as the Patriot, or did they have other plans for you?
Well, I think Vince, in an apprehensive way, agreed to bring me in as the Patriot, and talking to Jim Ross and talking with Cornette and talking with others that worked behind the scenes and worked in the office there. I think Vince was convinced that at that time a masked character really just couldn't get over in the States. But I didn't agree with that assumption. I mean, every place I had worked as a Patriot, I had been a fan favorite, whether it was in Global, whether it was in WCW here in the States. It was always a character that was, over with the fans, and the fans got behind. So I felt like that I could get that character over working for Vince. So I think that in the beginning he was somewhat hesitant to do it, but I think, shortly after I went to work there, I think he realized and saw that it was still a fan favorite, and so he just immediately put me in that angle with Bret Hart, and had Bret and I together, and had us working together.
All right. Now, when you debuted, it was during the now infamous Attitude Era. Since the Attitude Era was always about pushing the envelope, was there anything that they ever pitched to you that you just didn't want to do? Has anything ever come across like that?
No, not at all. I think it's such a baby-faced character that it's, that it's really, really, no gray area there with that type of character. I mean, it's pretty hard to do anything with that character, but other than what we did with it. But no, they never pitched anything to me that I would have felt uncomfortable with. I think the biggest thing that Vince pitched to me, and I was more than glad to do it, and I thought it was a good idea, was to do my first interview without the mask, to sit down and say, look, this isn't just, a character. This is a person that's tied to this character. There is a person behind the mask, or as this DVD is titled, the man behind the mask. There was a man behind the mask. So they sent the film crew to my home in Columbia, South Carolina, and we spent a couple of days together just videoing footage and interviews with me out without the mask. And I thought that went over very well. I thought it was a good idea.
Now, during this time, you wrestled Bret Hart, which set up the American versus Canadian feud that was going on at the time. How were you being treated in arenas in America versus when the WWF would travel to Canada? Was it a little bit rougher when you were in Canada?
Yeah, it was, and that's just natural. I mean, it was just one guy that was tied geographically to one country, and another guy that was tied geographically to his country. And so we obviously in the States, I was the ultimate babyface. But when we went north into Canada, and we started on the west coast of Canada and worked our way all the way across Canada, it was a completely different story. Bret was their hero. Bret was their guy. And I was anything but a babyface. And I was absolutely the biggest, baddest, darkest heel in their eyes. And so much so that one night, and I can't even remember what city we were in Canada, but Bret and I were working main event that night, and we literally had to cut the match short. I think not for his safety and well-being, but for mine, because we had 6 different people that either attempted to get in the ring or did get in the ring. So finally, we both just decided, hey man, let's cut this thing short and let's get out of here. And I had a police escort to my rental car, and then a police escort to the hotel, and then a police escort up to my room, and was advised by the police that once they left, I was on my own. So if I was smart, I'd order room service, because if I walked back down into that lobby, there's no telling what would happen to me. So I locked my stuff in my room that night, ordered a nice steak from room service, and just stayed in, because it got really, really intense that night. It's an uneasy feeling when you've got people coming out of the seats, sliding up under that bottom rope or stepping through the rope, and they're coming after you, and you don't know what they're holding, what they're capable of doing. So after that happened about 6 times, we decided it was in my best interest to get out of there and call them into it.
Now, was it weird for you that since you were typically a good guy throughout your career, getting booed, was that a hard thing to get used to whenever you were in Canada?
No, not really. I don't think. I think in that business that you have to be somewhat adaptable to whatever situation you're in. Obviously, it was something that I wasn't used to hearing, but it wasn't something that I had a problem with. You just sort of cater to the crowd that you're working in front of, or not cater to them, but you just adjust what you're trying to do or what you have to do to that particular crowd. And so when I was being booed, and that that sort of element of a heel comes out in you, and you just do things that, I think a heel would naturally do or have a natural response from a heel perspective. But I wasn't any difficulty in having to make that adjustment.
All right. Now, when you were in the WWF, you got to compete for the WWF Championship against Bret Hart at In Your House Ground Zero. What was it like to compete for the championship against the guy, the caliber of Bret Hart?
Well, I always enjoyed working with Bret, and I'll go into even greater detail about that in the DVD. But just very briefly, I always enjoyed working with Bret. Working with Bret was akin to working the style of matches I was used to in Japan. It was a little more of a snug style, a little stiffer, and it was just it was good, solid work, good, solid matches at a good pace. Never any. I worked with a lot of guys in the States, and that was sort of one thing that on occasion would turn me off a little bit about some of the things that would be done in the States when I was working here. And they would want to incorporate comedy or funny spots into a match. You never had to worry about that with Bret. It was serious business. He was a consummate professional and went out every night, worked hard, put in just a good, solid effort to give a good, solid match. And so that was right down my alley. So I enjoyed working with Bret.
Now, you had some injuries, like you mentioned earlier, that kind of made you retire from the WWF at the time. Now, not long after this, there's a story going around that a gentleman by the name of Tom Brandi took up the Patriot gimmick. There's a lot of confusion whether you sold the gimmick to him, whether he just took it. Is there any way you can clear up any of this confusion for us?
I think I'm probably the best thing that's ever happened to Tom Brandi, because otherwise it was just sort of, just not much of a career. But no, I never sold him that character. He never approached me about using it. When I got hurt and had to retire due to just a series of injuries, I literally just removed myself and disconnected myself from wrestling. I literally for years had nothing to do with the business. When I got out of the business, I got out of the business. But once I started, sort of trying to get back into business in the sense of just keeping up with what was going on, just following it. I didn't even do that for a number of years. I started hearing rumors that Tom was working as the Patriot and had taken that character and as his own, but it was never anything that Tom and I talked about, never anything that was sold to him. I do, honestly, think it's a sad commentary for Tom that, he doesn't feel like that on his own he can stand alone, that he could have any type of career, that he's got to pretend to be someone else. And I think that's somewhat sad that, it's easy to put a mask on where people can't see your face and claim you're somebody that you're not. And to go as far as selling pictures not of Tom dressed as me or the Patriot, but pictures that were me. I know he did a shoot DVD years ago, and the cover of it was me. It wasn't Tom Brady or Tom Brandi. And I've even communicated with wrestling fans lately that were at shows, and they thought they had spoke to me. They thought they had watched me work, and even they were suspicious that maybe it wasn't me. So they even took it a step further and asked the person that was dressed as the Patriot, "Hey, are you Del Wilkes?" And that person would go, "Yeah, I'm Del." So to even take it that far as to, claim that they are me, I think is just really a sad commentary on, evidently, I'm the best thing that's ever happened to Tom. So, but if that's what he needs to do, more power to him.
Yeah.
But I do want to say this, and getting back to the project that we've got going with Michael Elliott, I also want the fans to know that they themselves can be a part of this project. Mike does great work. He's done other other projects like this on Ivan Koloff, on the Rock and Roll Express, on Jimmy Valiant, on Magnum TV, and it's just first-class work. And I'm just honored that he would want to do that along with me. But this isn't what Mike does for a living. This is the labor of love for Michael Elliott. He puts his time and effort into this after he's done his regular job, and he puts a lot of his own hard-earned money into this. But now we've got something set up where the fans can go to Kickstarter.com, and they themselves can become a part of this and help out as we try to complete this project. And as you go to Kickstarter.com, you'll see there are different levels where you can donate, and at each level there's prizes, there's rewards, also get credit at the end of the DVD, so they also can become a part of this project. And that's the great thing about wrestling fans. I've played college football very briefly in the NFL, so I've been around a lot of different sports fans, a lot of different fans, and how they react to their form of entertainment that they love the best. And there's no one on the face of the earth like wrestling fans. There's no other group of fans that have the kind of loyalty our fans do. And so we're excited about giving them the opportunity to go to Kickstarter.com and also just become a part of this project with us and to help us out as we try to finalize this and hopefully get it out late summer or early fall.
That's right, and guys, everybody listening too, we'll tweet it out, we'll put it on our Facebook, we'll let all of our fans out there know too, and how they can make sure they get to the link exactly, and how they can back your project on Kickstarter.com. Now, Del, earlier we asked you what you thought your greatest achievement was in the world of wrestling. Now, well, what do you think your biggest mistake was? Did you ever feel that you ever made a mistake about something that you wish you could just, go back and change?
Well, I think we'll all probably have several of those that maybe we would like to go back and change. But yeah, there are certain things I never regret working in Japan. It was the most enjoyable part of my career. But I had a guy give me some advice early on in my career working for All Japan, a guy by the name of Stan Hansen, who's also, you'll see in this DVD, The Men Behind the Mask. He came to me one night after maybe my first or second match there, and he said, you're a big guy, 290 pounds, you're an athletic guy, you move good, you look good. And he said, I realize it looks good for the people, for you to stand up on that top turnbuckle and dive off across the ring with that Patriot missile, or to do a drop kick off the top turnbuckle. He said, but that's not conducive to a long career. He said, you'll shorten your career by doing stuff like that. If you're too big, he said, you need to come up with a finish. It's going to be less taxing on your body eventually in your career. And one in one ear and out the other. And his stand turned out to be very prophetic. That did, you're 290 pounds and you're jumping off that top turnbuckle every night and you're landing in the middle of the ring on your elbows, triceps. Well, eventually something's going to happen and it's not going to be good. And that happened to me time and time again. So that did indeed lend itself to shortening my career. So I wish I would have taken Stan's advice that night and not done as much of that. Also, too, maybe leaving All Japan for the first time and going to WCW, in hindsight, might not have been the best move at that time for my career, but it was the one I thought at that time I needed to make. And so I think we all have regrets when you look back on it. But overall, there are very few of those. And you're just, I feel very fortunate, very blessed that I was able to participate in a business that I just fell in love with as a kid. I know when I looked at my first match that night in Columbia at the age of 10, I left there just blown away by what I saw that night. I saw Jack and Jerry Briscoe wrestle, Rip Hawk and Squeak Hansen. And I was the biggest football fan you could have imagined, but there wasn't anybody playing football at that time that was any bigger than Jack Briscoe and me, or those guys I watched that night. So that just blew me away. And to think that, down the road, I had the opportunity to participate in that same business and be a part of that same business. Well, a lot of those guys I grew up watching. When I first broke into the business, I was fortunate to be around a lot of those guys that I watched and that I looked at their picture in the wrestling magazines when I was a kid. So, yeah, there's a couple of regrets, but I can assure you this, there's very few.
All right. Now, part of the reason we do these interviews is because we like to set the record straight. We want to make sure that there's no false information about anybody out there or anything. There's also another rumor out there that in 1998 there was a TV show called Exposed: Pro Wrestling's Greatest Secrets, that you played the role of Private Payne in that show. Now, can you confirm or deny this?
That is 100% false. That's the first time I've ever heard that. That's a new one on me, but I can tell you without any hesitation, there is not 1 ounce of truth in that.
That's great, because they're, like I said, that's why we do this. There's a couple of sites out there that say that they know who played the characters in that show. So I'm glad that we got that straight.
Just another good example of how you can't believe an awful lot that you see on the internet, correct?
That's
Absolutely.
Right. Now, you've been very outspoken in the past about drug use in the world of professional wrestling. Do you think it has gotten better these days? More regulations and whatnot?
Well, I do. I really do. You're exactly right. I have been critical in the past of Vince and the WWF or the WWE. And the reason you're critical of them is they're really the only ones left. But I do. I think they have done a much better job with their wellness program. I get a newsletter every quarter, and they offer help to anyone that's ever worked for that company. They will pay for you to go to rehab if you need it. And I know of several guys that have taken them up on that and taken that opportunity. So I tip my hat to them for that. And I'll tell you another reason I think that it's gotten better. We still have a high death rate among people that have participated in professional wrestling. You just look at recently losing Tommy Rogers at 54 years of age. I mean, there's just no excuse for an otherwise healthy young man to die at that age. But I've lost so many of my friends over the years that were in that business, and that business has taken a heavy toll on so many guys. But we don't see the rash of death of guys that are still involved in that business like we used to at one time. If you think back to when Pillman died, and I was in the WWF at the time and good friends with him, it just seemed like that started an avalanche of active wrestlers that were dying at an alarmingly high rate. And, for obvious reasons, just falling victim to that lifestyle and the things that you felt like you had to do to keep going. But we just don't see that as much now. So I think that is evidence that things are better, and I hope they continue to get better.
Now, if you could give somebody one piece of advice that they're thinking about maybe getting into the professional wrestling business, what piece of advice would you give somebody?
Well, number one is just hard work. You've got to dedicate yourself to this. I remember when I first broke into the business, it was what I ate, drank, and slept 24 hours. It was just all consuming for me. So it takes an awful lot of hard work. And then secondly, my advice to you would be, you are your greatest commodity. You yourself, your body, take care of it. Treat it right. Because it's only going to last as long as you allow it to. And, so protect that body. Eat right. Don't put bad things into your body. Don't do stupid, dangerous things. I realize there are times you've got to push the envelope and you've got to do things that look good for the sake of TV and whatnot, but still treat your body right, because once that body goes, man, I'm living proof of that. Once it goes and it fails you and it can no longer continue to serve you in the capacity that you need it to, then it's over. So work hard, take care of that body, because that's your moneymaker.
Sure. Now, Del, do you still watch pro wrestling today? Do you keep up with the product or no? There's so much of it today.
I watch, but I'm a casual observer now. Mm-hmm. I cannot tell you the last time that I've watched the entire show. That's been years and years and years. I do occasionally on Mondays turn over and watch a few minutes, but it's just a completely different product now than it was then. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I guess that's left open for debate. But it's not one that attracts me. I'd rather go back and watch old stuff. And I tell you that, to that point, with the passing of Dusty, I'm sure all of us have been going back and watching a lot of the tributes to Dusty, watching a lot of the stuff on YouTube. And man, I can sit for hours and watch stuff like that way before I'd watch today's product. I've got a great library of wrestling matches that, from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, Japan, stuff that was done in Japan. And I would much rather sit down and watch that than watch the stuff that we see today. And I'm not knocking today's performers and today's superstars. They're doing what they have to do, what they're told to do. But it's just not that appealing.
All right. Now, we heard a lot about your career as a professional wrestler. We heard some about your career in football. But what are some of the things that you like to do outside of those things? What are some of your hobbies that you have?
Well, I tell you, because of when I wrestled, you had very little time at home. When you were at home, I never developed any hobbies. I mean, when I did get the opportunity to get off the road and get home, I wanted to spend time with my family and my kids. So I never developed the golf hobby. I never developed the hunting, the fishing, anything like that. I love being around my family. I love being around my children. I've got my youngest son just graduated from high school and had a great high school career as a football player at a high school here in Columbia. He's getting ready to take the next step and go to college and play football there. My daughter's getting married in August. So I just love doing things with them, being around them. And my interest, they're Gamecock football, University of South Carolina Gamecock football. I love it. I'm passionate about it. And also very passionate about, I was talking to somebody about this today. I love politics and following that and keeping up with that. So those are some of the things that I fill my time with and bring me great joy. And also, too, I do have the opportunity quite a bit to speak to youth groups, to church groups, to functions like that. And I enjoy doing that, just sharing my story with others.
Lightning round. Favorite thing about America?
Your freedom to be whoever you want to be. You can be as little as you want to be, or you can be as great as you want to be.
What do you think the best patriotic wrestler of all time is?
Oh, that's easy. The Patriot.
That's right. What's the best thing about America? I said the favorite thing, but now the best thing about America.
The best thing about America is it is a melting pot. It's been made great by people from different walks of life and different ethnicity groups.
Okay, which do you think is more American, apple pie or baseball?
Oh, baseball is more American, yeah. No doubt. I'm a sports fan. It's an easy one.
All right. What's your favorite song about America?
The Star Spangled Banner is my favorite, and then what's the one they sing at the baseball games during the seventh inning stretch? God Bless America. Yeah, God Bless America. It would be my favorite.
Okay. Now, being that you are the Patriot, what are your plans for the 4th of July this year?
Well, I think I'm going to do what most patriotic Americans do. I'm going to spend time with my family. Probably do a little backyard grilling and spend time with my family. And then later that afternoon, I'll be on the road to do a personal appearance. But family, backyard barbecue, cookouts, and so I think that's what most Americans love doing on 4th of July.
That sounds pretty good. What time are we supposed to be over there?
Well, you can come whenever you want to. We'll probably start grilling around noon.
Okay.
All right, well, Del Wilkes, so we barely scratched the surface today. We really appreciate your time. Everybody, please check out the project. It's called Behind the Mask, The Story of the Patriot Del Wilkes. Find it out on Kickstarter. But also, Del, where can fans find you and keep up with you on social media these days?
Well, I have just recently started becoming a part of social media. You can go to Del Wilkes on Facebook. You can go to Del the Patriot Wilkes on Facebook. You can also follow me on Twitter at Del Wilkes. And again, I want to say thank you for all the wrestling fans out there that have contributed to the Kickstarter program already, and to those of you that will and are considering it, I think you'll find it very, very, very worthwhile. We're excited about all the fans, as many as possible, that can be a part of this project, and we're excited about the project, what we've got coming out, and I think you're going to find it a very interesting story, and it's been a wonderful life, so we want to share it with all the fans out there, and I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to come on as well and promote the project and talk about my career.